Hey guys, what is going on? My name is Fen, and today we're going to be doing a dungeon. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do regarding dungeons because the majority of the time you do get really bad groups, and I don't know if I wanted to show that in a video because it kind of reflects badly on me in a sense, especially when I'm trying to show you how to tank properly for them people who are new to tanking. So, you've got to really bear in mind regarding some DPS, but unfortunately for me, this group that I had was relatively good. We had a few AFK issues, but beyond that, the group went well. The DPS was a little low, but I mean, that's pretty much what you have to expect when you do actually go into dungeons. You've got to expect low DPS, you've got to expect AFK people, you've got to expect people don't know the bosses. But they expect you to do all this. They expect you to even DPS, and they expect you to know what to do. And basically, you're the caretaker of that dungeon, and you are kind of in charge of everybody else, making sure they know what to do. Even though it's their responsibility, it still falls down to you inevitably. Because if it doesn't, then who's to take blame? Fortunately, it's the tank. So this is the first boss of this dungeon, and this is one of the harder dungeons, but we actually skipped quite a lot of the trash near the end, which I was really happy about. This boss doesn't hit particularly hard, it just does chain lightning. He spams that quite a lot. As you can see, it will affect other people with it. There will be random orbs of lightning on the floor, which you have to move the boss out of. It does a lot of damage. Once you get this boss down to a certain percentage, I think it's about 50%, he will go into an invulnerable state, and then the dragon behind him will actually become active. Now this guy applies a debuff which basically absorbs healing. You need to face him away from the raid because his breath does do quite a lot of damage. As you can see, it's not doing too much to me. That's because I'm a DK, of course, and I am getting healed quite a lot. But beyond this, no one else should really take any damage from this. It's just the damage that they get from the debuff that the boss applies. So he will go down relatively fast and relatively quickly. There's nothing really else to say. The boss does... it doesn't really do much auto attacking. It's more of a breath. Even he does actually do auto attacks, but it doesn't show the attack animation. So keep that in mind. Now once he is dead, the boss kind of goes into a little bit of a frenzy. And basically he'll do chain lightning damage to everyone, and this will keep getting obviously stronger and stronger, so you do have to nuke him down quite fast. It's important that you do spread out, but unfortunately if you do have a lot of melee, then it's going to be obviously a lot harder to spread out. But if you've got enough DPS, you will in fact send them down quite fast. So the shards are actually quite hard to kill in this dungeon. Not because they take a lot of DPS to kill, but you've got to kill them in a certain fashion because they do a lot of AoE damage. They hit me for about 40k magical damage, and that's not particularly great. So you do have to be careful. Here, I lost a bit of aggro because I had cooldowns on my runes. Death Decay had a cooldown, but it's very easy. Rune Strike causes a lot of threat, and it's one of the things that they implemented into DKs quite late. But it does do a lot of damage. Now for this boss, this is a little bit of a gauntlet. The best I could suggest to you guys is to just stay in the center and nuke him down. That's pretty much it. So while this is panning through, I just want to talk to you guys about cleanliness actually. It might be a weird topic, but I was actually looking at my keyboard and I saw that it's quite dusty, and I got some cotton buds and I started just cleaning in between the keys, and the amount of dirt that I found in there was freaking horrendous. So I'm on like a mission to clean my keyboard, and the way I'm going to do that is with some alcohol substance. You get this from like CPU cleaners. It's got a really nice smell. It kills germs of course, it's got alcohol in it, and it also gets rid of grease as well. So it's actually quite ideal to use that. So I'm just curious to how many people actually clean their keyboard, because studies have shown that keyboards are actually dirtier than toilet seats, which is quite surprising. And I learned about this quite a long time ago because when I was in college, to get out of work, I would, you know, say I'm not using this keyboard, and I'd show them the study, and then they'd give me some cleaning materials to clean my own keyboard, and I spend most of the period just cleaning my keyboard. I was young, I was 16, I should have done more studying, but hey, ho. That was actually, God, that's years and years ago, but, you know, it's still stuck, and it's true that the keyboard is very dirty, and I doubt anybody really cleans their keyboard. But it would be nice to see how many of you actually do take care of your equipment, such as keyboards, mouses, and all that kind of stuff. Especially when you're eating food and then you touch your mouse and your keyboard, you get them all greasy and stuff like that. I know there's a lot of people like that around. Me being one of them, actually, I do that quite often, which I shouldn't really, because, well, it's not hygienic for a start. So, as I've been talking, this boss isn't anything special. This phase, what he's on now, which I think is his second phase, he will basically split into three, and you've got to find the real one, which is quite easy because he will turn green if you have tidy fret plates on. And then on the last ability, well, last phase right here, he will actually just target some random and do like a sumo complex on him and smash him into the ground. Nothing fantastic. The thing you have to watch out is at the beginning of this, where he does the Fist of Fury. They hit really hard, so don't stand in that. So moving on, these are the trash packs that most people die on. The reasons are because they hit extremely hard, they get a buff, and they do extreme amounts of magical damage. Not only that, you've got to make sure you don't stand in the fire like I am here, and I'm taking tons of damage. Although the fire does help you kill these, it's very difficult to position them because they are kind of casters. Now, when these mobs channel their black breath attack, or whatever they want to call it, that ability there, let them cast it, just move out of it. The reason for this is because they gain a debuff that basically increases their damage by a percentage. It stacks from 10% up to 100%, so they're doing a ton of damage, and you've got to be really careful. Now, the smaller shards, they actually explode when they die, and these do tremendous amounts of magical damage, so you have to be extremely careful. And make sure you use anti-magic shell, it will save you. And make sure you don't obviously pull more when people are low, because they will die if they are in range. So same with these mobs, just make sure you face them away from everybody and just outrange or move behind them when they actually do the breath attack, and just keep DPSing them, but don't interrupt it because it will cause them to get a buff and your tank will take even more damage. Now this boss is quite easy, although the mechanic that is supposed to help me tank this boss kind of bugs out. The debuff that is giving me, it basically reduces disabling effects on me, and the boss will basically disorientate me for a very long time, but because I have the debuff, which is what this spinning thing is, it actually stops it from casting on me. It reduces it down to a few seconds. So it's really ideal, but for some reason the debuff keeps wearing off, and I'm not sure why. I think it's because the debuff itself is triggering the debuff, if that makes sense. It reduces the debuff on you, I think it's by 5 seconds every second. So as you can see, it's ticking down and down, and then I get the debuff applied to me that basically disorientates me. Now ideally when you have the debuff on that reduces the cooldown, it lasts for 5 seconds, but with the debuff on, which is the red one, it actually gets rid of the blue one, which is the magic effect, which can be dispelled. Yet the healer had a hard time dispelling me with this, so the boss turns around and he generally smacks one of the melee. If the range is doing the most threat, then he'll run to them. All you need to do is just taunt him back. It's as simple as that, really. Apart from that, the boss doesn't do much. It's just them abilities, and then there's basically a tank and spank. Now there will be ads, as you can see, but generally just let the DPS kite them round. They don't hit for hard. I was actually taunting some of them, especially off the healer. That's my priority. But for the ranged, they can generally kite them around. They don't hit very hard. It's when they die and explode, that's where the damage comes from. So it's best just to either stay near the tank, or run the ads into the tank, and the tank will generally pick them up. So these mobs here are some of the hardest mobs in this dungeon, if not the hardest mobs in this dungeon. The amount of damage they do is horrendous. The debuffs that they apply are horrendous, and just the mobs in general are really, really annoying. So here on this pack, you know, we was gonna go kill him, but I think it was the rogue, or we don't have a rogue, but I don't know. It was one of the people in our group. I think it was a shaman actually, and they kind of allowed us to skip that pack, which is quite nice because if you can avoid these, avoid them. But you do actually need to kill him for the quest at the end. You've got to kill all of these packs in order to complete your quest. When me and Rookie didn't kill all of these ads, they actually, the boss bugged out and we couldn't hand our quest in. And it's worth a lot of XP, so keep that in mind. Now here you see I'm taking a ton of damage. I am popping cooldowns. The reason for that is because you have to kill the orbs in order to click the corpse, in order to make these ads vulnerable so you can actually kill them. If you don't, then it's going to be pretty much tough luck. So this is the last boss, and this boss is difficult in a sense, but he is very easy. Now he's going to cast a lot of abilities, which is going to basically increase your anger or your hatred, however you want to put it. And when this gets to full, you are given a debuff which increases your damage taken, it reduces your hit chance by 90%, and it does some other things. So it's best not to let this get up high. Now it will also do Rising Rage, I believe it's called, and it will basically rise your rage bar, which you can see in the center of the screen. You have meditation, which will basically reduce this anger or hatred, and that's pretty much all you do. Now he will summon these black orbs, which do need to be killed ASAP. Now a lot of people don't do this, and it is very annoying because you get basically dragged from pillar to pillar to pillar. And as you can see, the warrior there actually did die, and that's because people are just not focusing on the orb. People seem to think that if you don't kill the orbs and just DPS the boss down, everything will be fine, but in actual fact, DPSing the orbs down first, then going back to the boss, gives you more time to DPS the boss than you otherwise would. So generally kill the stuff first. Now I'm the only person who was actually interrupting this Rise Anger, I think it's called. Other people should do it. Now as you can see here, I'm not getting dragged around. A trick for this is if DPS are actually going to kill these, and before it actually drags you, just go into your meditation state and you won't get dragged, which is really nice. Now he summons these all pretty much at the same time, so if you do it just before the first one actually hits, then you won't get dragged around from the rest of them, as you can see here. So everyone else is getting dragged around and I'm not. So use it to your advantage. If not, then so be it. But that's pretty much the boss, and that's pretty much the dungeon. So I hope you guys could understand what I was doing through the dungeon. I know I speed it up quite fast. I just don't want you guys to be sitting around watching a 30-minute video. So guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you've got any questions about tanking or anything in general, just leave it in the comment section below. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Cheers for watching. Bye.